excited to have you here. Sportscom Speak, we are looking at as a property where we bring on board experts such as yourselves in the world of sport, and where we talk to people who are passionate about sport, and yeah, in the industry at large. I'm just going to introduce the two of you briefly, and I'm sure, I mean, there's lots to talk about, and we have an hour, so let's make the most of it. So, Mr. Vivek Singh is, of course, the joint MD of Procam International and is a pioneer, if not the pioneer, in sports management since Procam International started back in 1988. Procam also organizes, some of the biggest marathons in Indian cities, including Tata Mumbai Marathon and in Delhi, Bangalore, Kolkata. Commander Rajesh Rajagopalan is the CEO of ELMS Sports Foundation, and he brings to ELMS an experience of over 30 years in the Indian Navy. And he's also been a consultant and the CEO of the Target Olympic Podium Scheme. And now, of course, he's at ELMS, which he was just talking about earlier. ELMS is a not-for-profit initiative committed to promoting physical literacy and achieving sporting excellence in India. So, yeah, thank you for being here. Uh, Commander, if we could continue our conversation on the role of the army in sport culture in India.
Yeah. So if you see from the beginning, you see armed forces, sports is integral to the life in army or for that matter, armed forces, be it Air Force or the Navy. Essentially because physical fitness is one of the critical criteria of being in the armed forces. Every person, every Jawan, every sailor, airman, or an officer is annually tested for physical this because the nature of the work itself. If an army platoon is working at a height of 15,000 16,000 feet in Siachen, or you are sailing, or you are in a submarine for 30 days, it takes a lot of physical and mental courage. And actually sports also, when it comes to endurance, like marathon or running or this, also tests your mental fitness, and that's very, very important. So therefore it has become a culture. And other thing which why sport is so important and integral to the armed forces is because it builds camaraderie, it builds the team spirit, it builds leadership quality in the officers. And as I was telling you just a while ago, that in an and Vivek will resonate with me on this, that a young officer, when he joins an infantry platoon, and if he's a great sportsman, he's able to mingle with his people much faster and get their respect much faster than probably someone who's just average in sports. Because for the Jawans, it is like, oh, Saab gets the izzat for the platoon, because he can excel in sport. So it's very, very integral to the armed forces across the board. And therefore you'll see that in years, if you take Olympics, you take Asian Games, there is a huge army contingent part of the Indian contingent. When I'm saying army, it's the armed forces I'm talking about. It's not specific to army or this. Of course, army being a large, of course, they will have a larger proportion, but it is across the board on all three services. And this was much before they started even their boys sports company, or Navy started their sports company. It was these people used to join as a normal recruit, and because of the culture of sports, they used to excel and become international sportsmen. Be it Milkha Singh, if you see the history, and I'm sure everyone is now very conversant with his life story, where he joined the army and EME, and he started running for that extra bit of rest and food and milk, but what I'm trying to explain here is that it is so ingrained as part of the culture. And that's why the armed forces people do well. Now, of course, other institutes and services are, coming up with their own set of sporting heroes. There is no doubt on that.
Thank you. Mr. Singh, in our last conversation, you also spoke about sport being a soft power. It would be nice if you could expand on that a bit. I found that really interesting. And also, as someone who has practically made India run and crafted India's running journey, if you could take us through the early days a bit, and then we can get on, we can speak about the evolution of the culture.
Thank you, Arti. It was so nice to hear Commander Rajesh speak about what the armed forces brings to sport and the discipline. And yes, we have all experienced that firsthand. So that was really nice. But moving forward, what you said about sport being a soft power, it is. There are so many examples of countries which are small and their GDP is small, but they punch so much above their weight. If you take Africa, you take Kenya, you take Ethiopia, they punch so much above their weight. They've got so much respect on the international stage. It's not because of their GDP. It's not because of the size of their country. It's because of their sporting prowess. I could go on. There are small countries in Europe that command so much respect on the world stage, and that's because they have been sporting superpowers. So sport does give you, like Commander said, it gives you a platform to be showcased. It gives you a calling card, whether it's at the school level, whether it's at the state level, whether it's at the country level. It breaks barriers. We all know that, right? We all chase that Olympic medal as 6 grams of gold in it. But 6 grams of gold can lift the worth of a nation. And that's what the Olympic medal does. And that's what our government is also backing completely with the TOPS program and so many other initiatives. So it's fascinating, the power of sport, the invisible power of sport and the invisible power of it to make connections, to break down barriers is something fascinating. And I think we don't give it that full respect. Our present day government does a lot. The Prime Minister personally speaks to teams and sportsmen who have brought laurels to India on the world stage. But yes, a lot more can be done because it is truly a soft power.
Right, and coming to running specifically, Commander and I were just like a few minutes ago speaking about how inclusive it is as an activity and how it is available to everyone who wishes to participate. And it's just such a simple idea that works. So I'd love to know about how you started organizing marathons with Standard Charter and where it all began, the program.
So you need to be a bit crazy, Aditi, to understand the journey. Because 20 years ago, in 2003, India was not a running nation. Participative, excuse me, participative sport was not a buzzword. I remember when we embarked on the Mumbai Marathon, which at that time was generously supported by Standard Chartered Bank, there were about 20 to 25,000 registered runners in a country the size of India, and there were 2 events in India. And we used to go around saying, India needs a world-class marathon. India needs thousands of people to run. And people used to wonder, where are these people coming from? I mean, which side of the bed did they get out of? What have they been smoking? But the truth is that if you do a marathon in the right way, it does bring about social change at all levels. And I think that was the greatest driving force for us. So the first thing we did was we planted 5 seeds in the ground. We planted the seed that the event must bring pride and prestige to the host city. We said the event must lead to communal harmony and a gathering of a marathon-like spirit. Third, health and fitness. Fourth, charity. There should be a paradigm where people can run and raise monies for others who are not as fortunate as themselves. And the fifth, it must be a boon for Indian athletics. See, we forget, but distance runners or long distance runners were at the bottom of the athletic food chain. Throwers, jumpers always got the attention. Sprinters, throwers, jumpers got the attention. Distance runners, man, you were at the bottom of the athletic food chain. So these are the 5 seeds we put into the ground before we could even see any sapling of this. And today, as the world knows, it is grown into pillars for the marathon. Today, the 20,000 runners is 2.5 million registered runners. The 2 events is 1,500 running events in the country. And it has caused a social revolution for communal harmony, health, fitness, charity, pride, prestige. It's been truly a panacea for social evils. So, yeah, I mean, the challenges were galore. I don't think I want to bore our viewers and listeners with challenges. There were, any social revolution you want to start has its own challenges. You can't do away. You can't do without that. But it's been a most rewarding journey. It's been something quite fascinating. And today you'll be happy to note that the running ecosystem for participative sport in India is a $400 million ecosystem, which is trainers, nutritionists, entry fees, travel, marathons, sponsorship. It's a $400 million ecosystem in India alone, just running and participative sport.
I understand that, in the initial years after starting Procam, you and your brother Anil, literally paid out of your pockets so that to make people run, and I found that really inspiring that at personal cost, you work to build a culture which is giving back tenfold today by the looks of it.
I think, yes, but, anybody would do that. If you're wanting to start something new, if you wanted to create a movement, I think that comes with the terrain. You have to extend yourself personally. You have to take the risks. You have to have so much conviction. And I think my brother had it more than even me. He saw this. He saw the social revolution at the back of the marathons, at the back of large city congregations. And he just had this belief that what we were doing together was the right thing to do. And, you got to be a little over the top, as they say. And I think both of us, but more him, was over the top. And yes, the rest, they say, is what history has shown. So yeah, 2 crazy guys with a bag full of ideas walking down to sponsors. I remember one sponsor meeting Anil and me were in, and a very big multinational company. And they said, we love what you're doing. We love what you're saying. And we think it's fantastic. So we were like overjoyed, because this must have been 100th meeting where we're getting a no and we're getting now a yes. This is only one problem. So we said, okay, what is the problem? They said, I think your vision is fantastic. I think what you guys are saying is something which can happen, but we can't start where you want us to start. And this is a very big lesson for entrepreneurs out there. Sometimes, so we said, what do you mean? They said, let us start by doing something that is city specific. We'll grow that into something which is national in a few years. And we'll grow that into something which is international. He says, you don't worry. That sponsor, that multinational, huge, said, in 5 to 10 years, we will be where you want us to be. Don't worry. We said, don't worry. He said, but our dream is this, the world's best athletes. Our dream is live television, which for a marathon event is a marathon in itself. Our dream is 2 helicopters in the air. Our dream is the city coming down and the roads being shut in a standstill. And he says, yes, 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 in 5 to 10 years. Absolutely, I love it, he said. But let's start with us and the city. So Anil and we were confused, because that was not our dream to, just be Bombay specific or Mumbai specific or Delhi specific. So we said, okay, we'll come back to you. So he realized that it wasn't going the way he wanted. He says, I'm telling you, stay with me, you'll regret this. We said, listen, we'd love to stay with you, but this is not the dream. The dream is to shake people out of their reverie. The dream is to show that a world-class sporting event with 17 different agencies cooperating together can be done in this city. And I tell you, if we had not done what we did, thanks to Standard Chartered Bank and many other sponsors supporting us, the Tatas and Standard Chartered and everybody supporting us, we wouldn't have been able to break the mold. We wouldn't have been able to shake people up, and we wouldn't have been able to create the bank that we did, because what we did and what people saw was something unbelievable. So sometimes the practical aspect has to be kept aside if it conflicts or clashes with the dream and vision that you have.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, sounds like quite a journey. And today, sport or running for social good has become so common that, for example, there's a client that I'm working with. They're an education nonprofit, and there's someone who's running the Boston Marathon to raise funds for them. So with the advent of technology and the internet, it's also interesting how we can collaborate across different geographies and give back to society, essentially. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's very true. Yes.
Commander, from the cities of India, if you could take us to the rural areas and more remote areas where ELMS works and in helping, create physical literacy. You were speaking earlier about some of your biggest learnings from the field, and I'd love to, have you take us through that.
So when we got into the space, we realized that actually, if you see a lot of reports, even if you see ASAR report from Pratham, and you see that most of the schools don't have physical education teacher, or they don't have even space to play. And we felt that, as I was telling you before, that school is a very controlled environment. And we didn't want to, and we wanted to work where we are required, where we saw the gap. And we saw that a lot of these government schools are very small government schools where there is no space or no teachers. So we created a curriculum, we designed a curriculum. And the whole aim of this curriculum was that let's ensure that every child gets to play, to ensure the right of a child to play, which I think a lot of nations across the world, especially the developed nations, do have this as part of their, legislation. Or this. And there are, I know people in India also fighting for this, right across the national courts or the highest courts in the country. So that was the whole aim of this. Of course, there are other outcomes which come out of this kind of a program, and that's why we call it Project Chalang. That is, leap into something better or higher. And that is where we even at the end of the program test these kids on a set battery of tests. And we have now adopted the Khelo India protocol, because we had our own protocol, but we wanted to have a standardized protocol, which the central government is trying, so that we have a normative data, and we should be able to compare where we are making a program. And from that kind of a data, we would certainly find athletic potential. So I'm a very strong believer in finding talent as per potential and not as per performance. Because very difficult, when you base your identification on a performance, you don't know, you can't measure how many years that kid has trained, is it overtrained, what's the age. So when you're talking about raw talent, this is where you can get the raw talent, and then supporting them for their a sporting journey. Right now we are talking about play, and play being fun. And even in the scientific term, when you talk about long-term athlete development plan, the first stage is fundamental, where the fun part is huge capital and bold. So a kid should enjoy playing, and then only he can think about going into a sporting career. And that is where there are a lot of organizations who are coming in, where they want to help these kids. But largely the big money goes onto the elite program, and it only relies on the government funding for something where you're making every child to play. I was reading an article or a paper of how Norway goes about it, how ensuring right of every child to play. They don't record any, they have competitions, but they have no records till the kid reaches a certain age, say 10 or 13. So they don't have any Norwegian record. Here we start from 8 years, 6 years, we want to put a child into a certain, a specific sport. Your parents will go and make him enroll in a specialized football training or specialized tennis training. It doesn't happen in the, sporting, countries. Kids should be allowed. That is how we in armed forces, when our parents were in armed forces, we were allowed to play all the sport. And that is how it should be, And that's what built. You need to play a troop game. You need to play, when I'm saying team game, troop game is a very typical army terminology. It's team game or an individual sport, because all these kind of sport adds to your character. And to just give you, and it gives agency to the people, especially the girl child. I'll just tell you, and I remember meeting Vivek in Mumbai, and I was telling him this story. Our team was working in Ambala, and they were working with girl kids. So the point of a program is that we also make boys and girls team play in a cluster or a district competition. So there was a football team. These girls were all coming from village or suburbs. And finally, when they entered the field, the educator told them that to play football competition, you will have to wear your shorts, and you will have to play in shorts. And these kids refused. बोले नहीं, हम तो नहीं पहनते, हम तो सलवार कमीज में ही खेलेंगे. Somehow very tactfully, the educator told them कि नहीं, अगर competition खेलना है तो वो allow नहीं करेंगे, ये rule है. So they, of course, wore shorts, they wore stockings. And the first match, you could see the girls, pulling their shorts down and pulling up their stockings, because they didn't want their naked knees to be seen, bare knees see. And this team was so good, they went on to win the district championship. And the last day, and what used to happen is this team used to come, they used to go into the changing room, change into shorts, play, go again, change into their salwar kameez and go home. The finals, when they won, the educator said, go guys, change so that we can go home. Bola, nahi sir, aaj to nikkar mein hi ghar jayenge. You see, that is the kind of confidence and agency which these kids got. And we always keep in touch with them. One of the girls, Varsha, who went on to play for Haryana and was also selected. And she had never played before our program. Right? She had never played football before our program. And she went on for even the camp, in national camps. And this girl, when she was asked a couple of years later, what are you doing now? She says, I'm going to Chandigarh for enrolling myself into Polytechnic. So her elder sisters had never studied before beyond the village school. So our guys asked the parents, कि आप वर्षा को वहां भेज रहे हैं, इनको तो आपने पढ़ाया नहीं. बोले नहीं, वर्षा अभी खेलती है ना सर, तो अब थोड़ा सी तगड़ी हो गई है और उसमें दम है, वो अब जवाब भी दे सकती है. You see, that is the agency we want to give to the kids. And that is what is happening. It's not only about making them physical fit. Yes, that is one of the aim, but to make them, have that confidence in moving forward in life, to change their social circumstances. So that's what is happening. There was a young kid in normal school, a disabled child, and she would not be able to complete the battery of tests. But slowly and steadily, when the educator was encouraging her, the whole whole class came and started helping her to, encouraging her, motivating her. And she actually improved and finished all those, battery of tests at the end of the year. So bringing that feeling of, acceptability, inclusiveness, sensitivity to someone who's disabled. So our program also brings into that, and that's what gives us maximum satisfaction.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing these stories. And they're really precious, it's inspiring to listen to this because, I mean, even outside of competition, there's so much that you, like for me as a kid, my parents always threw me out in the evening to go out and play. You're not supposed to sit at home in the evenings, no matter what. And it taught me so many things personally, although I'm no athlete as such, but it teaches you collaboration. It teaches you to fight and make up with people, how to fail and come, make a comeback. So many things which get inculcated in you. And speaking of inclusivity, Mr. Singh, when it comes to marathons, I've been following how inclusivity has been growing over the years, and especially over the last decade or two. I've heard about champions of disability in marathons, where those who have disabilities are also included in marathons. And I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah, first of all, it's so nice to hear what Commander Rajesh was saying. When we came to Delhi in 2005, which is after 2 successful years of the Mumbai Marathon, and the then Chief Minister, Mrs. Sheila Dikshit, so our thought was bring the marathon to every city. And she was so astute, she realized, she says, I've been watching Mumbai, I've seen Mumbai's success, and you want to bring the marathon here? We said, yes, exactly, ma'am, that's it. We want to bring the marathon here. He says, hello, well, Delhi will never be a Me Too to Mumbai. So we said, okay. And that's how we actually brought the world's #1 half marathon to Delhi. What I'm saying is the year we came in there, 2005, in the early years, 2006 and 7, women did not run. And those who ran landed up in some funny outfits of jeans and a salwar top. And, it just was so different. And we're saying, my God, where have we chosen to come, man? Today, Delhi has left Mumbai behind when it comes to women running. Today, the entire 10K pacing squad, which is a very, very big thing to do, is to pace in a marathon, which means you're going to lead a bus, you're going to bring in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people at a precise minute of time that they want to come in and finish their races, is entirely women. Today, the half marathon paces, 50% or more are women. And I tell you, when you hear stories of this, you hear what a simple thing like running has done for empowerment of women, you get goose flesh. How we've empowered the housewife who's had no life to take control of her life, get up in the morning, come and do a simple thing like run with a group. And today, how it's shattered her barriers. It's just so amazing. A simple activity like distance running with others has shattered social barriers, has empowered people, and changed the face of society. Absolutely. Today, in our entire mix, which is 42K, 21K, 10K, 5K, about 40% are women. And I've had the privilege, thanks to this, I was elected to the board of ELMS, which is the International Association for Marathons and Distance Running. And you meet people like Joan Benoit, who was the first time a woman was allowed. Yes,
Olympic.
Yes.
Los Angeles, 1984.
84, and she won gold at the first time a woman was allowed to run the Olympic marathon distance. And we were having dinner the previous night, and I said, Joan, I'm nervous. She said, why are you nervous? He said, Joan, I'm running my first full marathon the next morning, which was Athens. We were running from Marathon to Athens. It's called the Classic Marathon. We're doing the Classic Marathon. And I said, Joan, I'm nervous. She says, you don't worry. I said, why? I'm with you. She said, I will run with you. What if by this time, she's an 84 Olympic champion. So we are talking 2010. So she was way past her prime. He said, I'm not running for any medal or timing. I'll run with you. I said, Joan, you'll run with me? She said, of course, you're nervous. I'll run with you. I said, man, thank you, God, for being alive. Next morning, we're at the start line. Joan is there and we start. And in about 10 minutes, I've lost sight of her. And we got 42 kilometers to go. Anyway, I completed it. It was a struggle for me because I was underprepared and it's a challenging course. I completed it. And in the night I said, Joan, hello. You remember me? I was doing my first marathon and where were you? She says, Vivek, what to do? It was so hot. I thought I'll finish it soon. So she ran some 4:30 at 84 to 2010. So it's 90, it's 26 years after an Olympic gold medal. And yet she kind of breezed through it. And then we had a few laughs and we had a great chat about it. I'd completed my first marathon and she had done so many. So we don't realize that women were not allowed to run. Can you imagine meeting Catherine Switzer, who entered the 1969, Commander Rajesh, Catherine Switzer, who entered the 1960s.
Yeah, you're talking about the Boston
Boston Marathon. She entered as a man because she knew women were, so she wrote K. Switzer. And then how Jack Semple, the race director, saw a woman running and came and tackled her.
Tackled her.
It is considered
off the course.
Yes, till her boyfriend came and tackled him and threw him off the course, and she was the first woman to unofficially complete a marathon.
Unofficially.
I'm going to bring her down to India. Catherine Switzer, she's 75 years old now, but she's a rock star. She actually was the first woman to unofficially complete a big city marathon, which was Boston in 1968 or 67, I'm not sure. And to that, since then, where have we come? We've got timing, women posting timings of 2:15 and 2:14. And oh my God, it's
divide. If you see the Olympics, 1896, first Olympic since the first modern Olympics, I'm talking about when Pierre Coubertin started that. Marathon has been part of it, but it has been men marathon. When has the women marathon come in? 1984. So you can imagine, that's the divide. They were not allowed to participate.
It's crazy what things have happened. Absolutely right, Commander is.
And I remember, Vivek, being a Delhiite, means done my schooling, last part of my schooling from Delhi. We used to have this regular Sunday auto pelzers race from National Stadium to Rashtrapati Bhavan and back. There were hardly any girls. Other than that diminutive Asha Agarwal running barefoot, I wouldn't see anyone, even Rath Marathon. Yeah. Again, this young girl means barefoot, and we used to be really, really look at her in awe, how is she running barefoot and, amazing. Very, very few girls would participate in Rath Marathon.
Exactly. It was 2005. We had finished 2004, and it was the beginning of 2005 race, or it was just I'm not sure. And we get a call, to answer the second part of Aditi's question. We get a call from the Sports Minister of India, which at that time was Sunil Dutt Saab. And that's how, and there's my secretary, I think the sports minister's office. I said, the sports minister of who? So she says, the sports minister of India wants to speak to you. I said, can't be. He said, suddenly, why would the sports minister of India want to speak to me? And he was himself such a great thespian. And so he comes on the line and he says, great job with the Mumbai Marathon. I said, oh, thank you, sir. He says, but why don't I see any wheelchairs there? So I said, sorry. He says, this marathon is so inclusive. I've seen people of all ages now taking part in the 2 years of Mumbai. Why don't I see wheelchairs? I actually wanted to put the phone. I said, have you lost it? I know what I go through to put on the show. To have wheelchairs on that road would mean. He says, no, I'm going to come to Mumbai. When I come, I'm going to meet you. We're going to do wheelchairs together. And I took on that challenge only thanks to his motivation, because no promoter wants to do something When it's an open format, you're on the roads of Mumbai, you've got things happening, you want wheelchairs coming in there, you say, no, no, no. But it's true, he was right. And today, such a charming part of our event is the Champions with Disability category. You'll be delighted to know of an organization called Adventures Beyond Barriers Foundation. Working with ABBF, Procam today does something very special. We pair corporate CXOs, CTOs, CEOs, CXOs with disabled people who can run, either they're deaf or they're blind or whatever else. And we pair these people together to complete a 10K distance. So there's an able-bodied CXO running with somebody who has a serious impairment. Maybe he's deaf, maybe he's blind, maybe he has some other physical motor issues. And they run together to complete the 10K. Now, why am I telling you this? Because look at the result of this, and this was ABBF's vision. To do this, they have to meet at least 4, 5, 6 times prior to race day to get to know each other, to get to understand how I will run and how I will lead you. And what are my commands, what are my signals, and how I will lead you. The level of sensitivity of disability that's come into that CXO, these people and others like them are getting employment in their companies. He's saying, yaar, ye kya hai? We don't have anybody like this. We should take from the disability sector also people. So people who are disabled are getting employment thanks to this platform called the Marathon, because we have this special feature in Mumbai where CXOs run with disabled people and complete their target distance. It's just something amazing what's happening on the ground here.
I'm getting goosebumps right now. It's truly inspiring.
I tell
Vivek
you,
and Anil actually have changed the landscape, running landscape of the country. When I was reading, Vivek, your article somewhere, that 1,600 marathons happen in the country, which is amazing. I could never imagine.
Aditya Joshi, CEO of Brookfield, Sunil Lulla, CEO of this, running with people who are just common people, getting sensitized to their condition and saying, why don't we have some in our company? Just because of the empathetic bond that running together builds.
Builds, absolutely.
So it's so magical, you know, when you've taken on something and you've been true to it, like Anil and me and our entire team at Procam International have been so true to the cause. What you see out there is much beyond what we imagined or what we can control.
It's really,
you know, Commander, there's that saying, and we've heard it as kids also. Either you see something to believe it, or you believe enough in something and the universe will make sure you see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we did. We just believed enough in something and the universe ensured that we would see it.
Right. And now, of course, a lot of huge industry brands are getting involved in marathons. And we have, I think, TCS in Mumbai, Airtel.
TCS, Tata Sons, Vedanta, Tata Steel. We got such massive brands. IDFC First Bank. It's just amazing how these brands have now taken to it. And
that's probably because also they have, Vivek and Anil have managed to, link it with a lot of social, goodness into it, and brands want to identify themselves with such causes, and I see a lot of these corporates, and I was reading somewhere that they make sure that their people are sponsored, to attend marathons abroad, even India and abroad, and not 1, 2, something in hundreds, and they give them either the cause which the corporate is following or their own individual cause. So you are linking the running with a cause which motivates you further, so that's a great thing.
Absolutely. It's been very, very blessed and fortunate journey. Yes, Aditi.
I feel blessed and fortunate to be here listening to your stories right now. This has been a very insightful coffee that I'm having. And, I guess it's clear that, Procam really laid down the groundwork uh, back then for the boom in interest in marathon culture and running that we have seen now. We've spoken about, the inclusivity aspect, about women, about disabled people in running. And I'm curious about what's next. Today, especially in cities, we have all of us are glued to screens. Fitness is taking a hit around the world, and there are so many chronic health conditions, especially post-COVID. And fitness has a renewed importance in this world now and in the future. So, what is your vision for the running community and marathon culture going forward?
Yeah, I'll take that, and then Commander can come in. For us, it's now turning into something much more. It's how can we stay connected with the community 365 days of the year, and not just a certain number of days when our big city marathons happen. How can we make people happy through a more engaged and active lifestyle? I think that's our mantra. Today, we want to be a fulfilling platform. If Aditi, you want to trek and reach base camp, and if that's going to give you joy, I want to be the platform that fulfills it for you or facilitates it for you. So for me today, with the kind of ecosystem that is there, it's no longer about, can I get Aditi to only run? Can she participate in my race or his race? My now platform, my now vision as a company going forward is, how can I make people happy through an engaged and active lifestyle? What is going to bring you happy? What are the checks that your mind is writing for your activity and happiness? Can I facilitate in cashing those checks? For some people, it's a trek. For some people, it's cycling. For some people, it's running. For some people, it's just walking somewhere. For some people, it's plogging. Do you know how big plogging has become? People are running and walking to clean up other people's thrown trash. And that gives them a high. What do? I'm a plogger. So I run, I walk, and I pick up other people's thrown trash. I think that's wonderful. So what are the checks your mind is writing? What is the kind of activity that's going to bring you joy and happiness? Can Procam build a platform that will facilitate you, help you, make it easier for you to reach your goal? Can Procam make you happy through an engaged and active lifestyle? And can I do this 365 days of the year, 24 hours a day?
Thank you. That's a lot of dedication there. And I'm sure we have a lot to look forward to. In the last 35 years alone, you have practically crafted and witnessed and facilitated the evolution of the running culture. And I'd like to ask Commander Rajagopalan the same thing about, what's in the future next for ELMS when it comes to sport, when it comes to running and play.
So we work in two very distinct areas. One is we are here to make every child play. We are here to ensure the right of a child to play and enjoy, and that becoming a lifestyle change. Like Vivek is saying, that we want an active lifestyle, for people to have, and we want that to be ingrained in the culture. So physical activity, we start with kids, more, a captive environment, more controlled environment. So therefore, it can bring in a change as they keep growing up. And you can see it happening in running. What Anil and Vivek has done a commendable job on that. You have running groups all over the place. It could be tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities. They have these groups, and that shows that there is a culture building. And everyone may say that, because of genetic disposition, Kenyans are doing well. The same thing was being said about the Scandinavians at a certain point in time. but it's largely because of culture. Everyone, the young kids aspire to be a runner. It will create that kind of environment where, technology will come and the sports science will come in, and you will have better runners. And it pains me that after 78, nobody's been able to, beat Shivnath Singh's record. Yeah, a couple of them have come close, but 78 is 55 years. And I just hope that what Anil and Vivek are doing and trying to create that revolution in running, we may have our champions coming out of this whole culture issue. And it all comes from fitness. As we become a healthy nation, a fitness oriented nation, I'm sure we will start treading towards creating champions also. The other very distinct part where we truly believe as a founders or as an organization is capacity building of the whole sporting ecosystem. Like we work with Labro University and Abhinav Bindra Foundation, to create sporting leaders, who are running an academy, or who are running a sport event company, or who are trying to create high performance centers, or who are part of a high performance centers, or who are administrating a high performance center, as well as coaches, because anything, it may be athlete centric, but every athlete journey is coach led. And if you have a good coach, certainly the athlete will do much better than not having a decent coach. And that is where we are trying to get the next generation coaches who are technical savvy, tech savvy, who can use the technology, who are aware of what sports science can add to their what dimension a sports science can add, what learning good technology, how a coach has to be a good communicator. So these are things which we see as gaps, and we are heavily working towards not rather empowering the next generation coaches, I would say, not churning out next generation coaches, but empowering the next generation coaches, which will have a concomitant effect on the kind of athletes India produces.
Thank you. Thank you so much, both of you, for your time and joining us on Sportscom Speak. I've learned a lot personally from this conversation, and I hope we can do more of these sessions soon.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you for inviting us. Yeah, we had no, it was a pleasure, Commander. Thank you. And thank you. Yes, looking forward to more sessions like this.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
You too. Have a good weekend. Commander, Aditi, have a great weekend.
Same to you, Vivek and Aditi. Thank you so much for coming.